Hey everyone, it's Ben Lister here. So I was speaking on the phone with a construction business owner the other day, and we started talking about how they get leads and how they get a lot of their business. And as soon as they mentioned Angie's List or Home Advisor or House or any of these marketplace lead websites, I could almost word for word predict what they were going to say next and what their experience would be like. And it seems to be the same old story for a lot of business owners that I talk to, in the home improvement business, construction, remodeling, that kind of stuff. And basically they said it works before, but now it doesn't work so much. And what I realized after doing some thinking about this should be pretty helpful to a lot of business owners, either in the home improvement space or that kind of space. So if you're not familiar with me, my name's Ben Lister. I help remodeling and interior design and construction businesses and home improvement businesses in general to really crack the code of marketing and to get an excess of customers available to them. So the first point that I want to make when it comes to this is that there's a big difference between leads that are exclusive and leads that are oversold. Now, what I mean by this is when you go to these websites, typically one lead will come in, so a person will come in, a member of the public, and they will ask for, let's say, some remodeling work. And this lead will be sold again and again and again, or at least to as many businesses that are out there in that specific area and that meet the criteria. And so what I often find with business owners that talk to me about this, and in my own experience as well, is that it's basically whoever can reach that person first will win the business. So you have all of these businesses that are competing with each other and basically all trying to fight for the same pot, which is obviously this leads business. And the leads often have a really small amount of information available to them. I know that they can click through to the website and they can go to social media, and there's ways for them to find out more information. But what I find is that 9 times out of 10 that doesn't really happen. And the leads that you call, they don't really know too much about you. They don't really know what services you offer. They don't know why you're different than anyone else. And that can often be a real deal breaker for a lot of businesses, and it can really push out a lot of businesses that operate in maybe a higher end, or not even higher end, just not a low end. Because of this, as I was saying, it's often the business that gets there first that is the one that wins the business. If it's not the first one, you kind of have to be in the top 2 or 3. And if you're a business owner where you don't have much time, where you're on site a lot of time, or you don't have a receptionist, or you don't have a great team, or really anyone designated to call these leads as they come in, then that's going to be a real struggle for you, because oftentimes you're just not going to be available when that lead actually comes through. So the time to lead, as we call it in marketing, is incredibly important with these kind of leads. It is important for a lot of leads, a lot of leads that come through paid traffic and things like that, but it's especially important for leads that come from these lead marketplaces, such as Angie's List. And another thing as well, these websites can often attract people who just care about the price, right? If you have a lead that hasn't come through a referral, where they've actually gone onto one of these websites to search for some work, basically there's a big difference between intent and sort of spontaneous leads. If someone has come through an intent platform where they've come to search for it, they know specifically what they want. Oftentimes they're only looking for a price because they know what kind of service they want. If, for example, it's a spontaneous lead, if it comes through different forms of paid traffic, or if it comes through a leaflet or anything like that, oftentimes they are more open to they're more receptive to the different services that you can offer. So if you offer them a service that is features that they didn't even realize that they wanted, you can basically upsell them on different things. You can tell them about the services that you really excel at, and you have a better opportunity to close them and to sell them on a bigger package. Whereas these leads that come from these websites often only care about the price, and as we all know, those are the worst kind of leads that we can want, in all fairness. Yeah, many times the leads are often just browsing, and they aren't really serious either. So oftentimes you can actually go through Angie's List, you can go through House, and you can register and sort of say I'm interested in these different products, and then that will trigger these websites to actually go out and say to business owners like yourself, hey, we have a person here who's interested in this. They've just said they want their kitchen remodeled, they want their driveway redone, or anything like that. But these leads actually haven't said that explicitly, in the sense where they could be just looking to see what's available. They can be just looking to see what kind of prices are out there. They're not as serious as other leads where they've been referred to you, or they've actually shown some commitment and come through a direct response advertising campaign, or they've seen you on your social media posts through organic social media, and then they've actually come through those channels. So there's a big difference between those kind of leads. And many times I find when you deal with leads like this and you deal with websites like this where you put your business out there, it can commoditize your business. Now, what I mean by that is, for example, a commoditized service would be when you buy petrol or gas for your car, when you buy cheap items like bottled water or like milk or things like that. You don't really care about the brand as much because it all kind of does the same thing. Now, the big issue with this is it's great for certain businesses and it's great in certain industries, but in home improvement, we want to have the biggest markups possible. We want to be able to upsell. We want to sell, high-end stuff sometimes, and really having your service pitched against all these other providers who will always beat you on price, but they will never beat you on service. But you don't have the chance to tell them that you have the better service. So you really just commoditize the whole business, and it is almost the exact opposite of what you really should be doing in the marketing space. This relates to a lot of other areas as well of business. So there's a real theory in business right now where it talks about, Peter Thiel says it himself, where he talks about the fact that you don't want to compete. It's the blue ocean strategy. You don't want to be in a market where you are sort of fighting for the same sort of things, fighting for the same sort of customers. You want to be on a field on your own, doing your own thing. If you put yourself on these websites and you try to challenge for these leads and you try to compete for these leads, you are directly putting yourself into this competition, and you are putting yourself in the red ocean category. And really what this means is that you're competing. You're going to have to give some leeway. You're going to have to maybe discount on your prices if you actually want to secure these leads. You're going to have to do things that you don't want, either responding to the lead super quick or giving something up, which is normally the price in these cases. It was making me think about similar areas, not just in business, but also in life and in the general world where this is quite similar. And if we find, for example, this might be a crazy analogy, but if we find, for example, let's say animals in nature, species, for example, the ones who thrive the most, who are the biggest, they have the most animals out there, the biggest species, are the ones that do not compete. So they don't have the same types of prey, they don't have same types of predators. Basically, their competition is very, very low. So for example, I think it's in Florida now, in the Everglades, because of how the ecosystem has changed, there's a lot of different species that are thriving and a lot that have really, really suffered because the competition is so high. So I know there's like a huge increase in the amount of pythons and a huge increase in the amount of alligators and stuff around there, and that is purely because of the competition has gone so narrow. There's nothing there to eat them, and there's a lot of stuff for them to feast on. So the competition is really small, and they thrive. If you use that analogy for your business, if you have a lot of businesses competing with you, a lot of predators, a lot of people who can take that business away from you, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to survive. But if you also give yourself a lot of prey, if you give yourself a lot of leads out there, you put yourself in a room with a lot of leads when there's not a lot of predators, other businesses, then you're going to survive. And that really is the blue ocean strategy, as it's called. And another way of sort of giving an analogy for this is it's like competing in a sports league, right? Every lead is not worth the same, but every lead is worth getting. And if you compete for a lead that is, a $50,000 lead, for example, with 5 businesses, it's almost like competing in the NBA with 5 teams, right? And if you win the championship, you've only got to beat 4 other teams. But for example, if you go to these kind of home improvement websites and you're competing with 30 teams, if there's 30 teams in the NBA, which I think there is, I'm not too clued up on my NBA, but if there is, then you've got a whole lot of teams to beat in order to win the same championship, And here's the thing, we can compete in multiple leagues in business. There's multiple things to win, there's multiple trophies to win, there's multiple leads to get, and this is the big difference, So if you just imagine yourself competing in a league, you want to put yourself in the smallest possible league with the biggest possible prize, if that makes sense. I think a lot of business owners would be thinking, now that I've presented these points and made this point across, if you do, agree with what I say, then what is the real strategy? What's going to happen if I keep using these, and how can I move away from it if I don't want to keep using these websites? So if you're going to keep using these sites, you're likely going to need to hire someone to handle these leads, whether it's a receptionist, whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's someone who is on the phones away from the site, or perhaps in an office, because the time to lead is super, super important. Oftentimes, if you call a lead, even 20 minutes after they've come in, you can give them a call and they say, you know, I didn't realize I was going to get this many calls. I've had four calls already. And by the time that's happened, you've already lost because you're not really competing on your service at that point. So you need someone to actually be on the ball, the time to lead to be really, really quick. And you need someone who really knows what they're doing with these sites and it's available for most hours of the day. So, you know, these leads can come in through like a 10 to 12 hour period, you know, let's say from 8 till 8. So it's super important. You probably have to have 2 people calling the leads at that point if you're going to do such a wide, a wide area where the leads can actually come in, a wide time period. But if you want to move away from that, the solutions that I know of and the solutions that I know of that I've proven to work is really moving to an exclusive source of leads. Now, this can be through paid traffic, this can be through organic social, this can be through, you know, physical ads, you know, leaflets, flyers, things like that. If you're dealing with paid traffic, the systems in place you've got to have don't have to be too complicated, to be fair, but you really just have to know what you're doing in terms of targeting, in terms of the difference between intent and spontaneous marketing. You know, if you want some intent marketing, if you want people that are actually looking for your service actively, then you're talking Google, you know, pay-per-click ads, things like that. If you wanted people who come through spontaneous ads where really they're not actively looking for your service, but once you present your offer to them and you give them a chance to really, you position your marketing to them, then they actually make that decision. Then you're looking at more Facebook ads, TikTok ads, you know, Instagram, that kind of stuff. But if you're not going to do paid traffic, if you don't fancy putting too much resources into that right now in terms of cash, organic social is another great way to do this. Inbound leads have proven very popular in recent years, especially since through the pandemic, different companies have found ways to market their businesses in really, really unique ways. The organic social side of things is a slow burn. It takes a while to get the inbound traffic to come in, but once they do come in, the quality of leads is very, very high. And if you have a social media audience that is, you know, 4,000, 5,000 strong, that is enough to really generate a bunch of leads every single week. And if you have different strategies on how to activate this audience and how to activate these leads and how to nurture these leads once they come in, then you have a real foolproof strategy there, a way to market your home improvement business. And then, of course, you can do physical ads. This really depends on location to location. If you're in a large area, if you operate in multiple cities, a couple of different states, then this might be pretty difficult. But if you're in a small area, if you do a service that isn't quite as high end, it's not a specialist, then this is a perfect strategy. The physical ads game is really just about volume. Once you find areas that you know you want to target, you know, just make sure you target them. You know, I know companies that do sort of 50,000 leaflets a month or whatever it is, you know, crazy numbers. The cost of that can be pretty high, and the tracking of this is quite difficult as well, because you don't really know where these actual leaflets are going and who's calling you, or which neighborhoods, for example, or which the best time to do it, the time of year to do it, anything like that is quite a difficult way to track the marketing. But nevertheless, it is still a pretty good way to actually go and market your business. By the way, if you're struggling to get remodeling or construction or interior design leads right now and you don't have a fully booked sales calendar, then go ahead and click the first link in the description. Don't worry, it's not a 5-figure course or, you know, some kind of case study or anything like that. It's just a video of me telling you how my company does this. And, you know, it is a sales funnel. It is designed to sell you something, I'm not going to lie, but, you know, you don't have to click it. I don't mind if you don't and you just want to use these videos to get value and some extra information. But feel free to check it out if you do have a lead generation problem. So that's all for this video. If you liked the video, be sure to press the like button. If you have any ideas or thoughts that you want to discuss, or, you know, video ideas for the future, please go ahead and leave a comment below. I'm really glad that you watched this video to the end. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.